wonder if there were cinema lenses that were not too expensive and L mount and could work really well on a professional set. Well, they exist, and they're made by a company called 7Artisans. Artisans. We were looking for something because we got our
Blackmagic 6K cinema camera.
What I was doing is I was putting basic photo lenses on there. L-mount, autofocus lenses, and it just wasn't working out properly because those lenses made more sense on an autofocus unit because they were, you know, drive-by-wire type of lenses. We were looking for a way to switch our lenses up for our cinema camera and actually get to a cinema lens, but some cinema lenses, just the value is not there. It didn't make any sense to me to get like a Sigma 18-35 cinema lens when I had the 18-35 photo lens, and we weren't really doing anything that was gear driven. So I was in a situation where I was like, well, we should get different lenses for this camera and treat it as like, this is one of our cinema units, the other being the Ursa, but I didn't want to spend, you know, $5,000 plus on an individual lens. So I discovered these 7Artisan lenses, which are available on Amazon and are dirt, and I mean dirt cheap for the value that they offer. They are steel. Ooh. They are fancy. Ooh. They look cinematic and they have hard stops, all of which was needed for where I wanted to position us with our new system. And they were L-mount. L-mount still is kind of a tricky lens type to find lenses for. And when I discovered these, we discovered them through DSLR video shooter, that dude Caleb, who's awesome. Mentioned this one, the one that I'm holding in my hands, this 35mm, because it's an itty bitty lens. It's very small, you know, and it doesn't have too much weight to it, which was great because if you do a little bit of run and gun and a little bit of sticks and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, you need something that's not so big that to move the actual camera is a burden as it is on most big film sets. We discovered they have this series called Spectrum. Spectrum are full frame cinema glass, and they just have a lot of good character to them and are clinical enough for our clients to really like them. I'm not sold on using anamorphics for certain types of clients. I just don't think it makes sense. I think it's too far outside the box. But we did want to have cinema lenses, and they just resolve pretty beautifully. A little bit of character in there. I do not recommend shooting them wide open, but this is 2.0.
What?
Actually, they're all 2.0.
Wow.
They're all 2.0.
My God.
So this kit is all 2.0, which is why we grabbed them, because, you know, we shoot in a lot of doctor's offices and things like that, and the lighting's not great, and we're gonna wanna supplement as well, but also kind of give that deep throw. The thing about this kit is there's one other lens in this kit, and it's not a 2.0, but it is a 14mm. So there is one missing from this that I flirt with all the time, because 14mm open gate looks darn pretty if it doesn't have horrible edging. So we might eventually grab the 14, but right now I love using these because they're small, they're compact, and they really just do their job and do their jobs well. We have the three basic lenses here that you would want in your cinema kit, that being a 35, a 50, and an 85. 85. I particularly like the 85. Whenever I can get an opportunity to shoot on the 85, if I'm in a big enough room on this full frame and use that as my medium angle, I just think that's a wonderful look. So I tend to go to this one first. But the 50 I love to use on full frame devices when I'm looking for kind of like that classic 35mm shot. And then if I need something a bit wider, like a 24, then I will use the 35. Kind of weird that I'm throwing all those words around, right?
Yes.
Super 35, I think is what we're all thinking of as the classic lens.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's on a cropped sensor, so it doesn't have as wide of a viewing field as a full frame device does, but 9 times out of 10, I think a 35mm on a Super 35 is what most of us would consider a normal look of like close to what the eye sees, but close to a cinematic look. On full frame, everything's a bit wider. I think a third wider. So if you think of these in terms of Super 35, the 85 is more like a 50, the 50 is more like a 35, and the 35 is more like a 24. That 14 that we're looking at would be super helpful when we're in those super small rooms, or if I just want to do like an architecture shot with, you know, like a little person in the center of the frame and lots of stuff on the sides. You know, those are great for those direct address documentary type things. But for corporate video, I tend to find myself here and here, and then if we're in a small room, we'll shift over to the 35. Let's put it on the camera. So we will use the 35 because this is the one that Caleb from DSLR Shooter said to use. And you can see that it just turns instantly, looks very cinematic. I mean, if I'm just doing this for looks, sometimes I'll just set this camera up and just not even use it because it looks like, oh, these guys know what they're doing because they have a cinema lens, but they didn't break the bank with this cinema lens. So you put this on and it looks cinematic, but here's the twist. It doesn't cost a lot, and it is cinematic. It does actually allow you to do what you're looking to do when it comes to hard stop focus pulls, aperture as well, and it is declicked because it's a cinema lens. All cinema lenses are automatically declicked. So you can just do really, really smooth types of pulls and smooth focus pulls, and most importantly, if you're rigging a dolly and you add a little focus assist right here, it is much, much easier to do dolly shots with this type of lens because the hard stops really help, especially if you're doing manual focus. We'll get into autofocus eventually, but right now, if you're trying to shoot classic cinema, I would really recommend these L-mount Spectrum lenses. I think they really were a game changer for us, and we all noticed when we got them that we really felt better about the image that we were producing from this. The really cool thing about these lenses, because I'm supposed to provide you some value that is beyond just, it's pretty cool and I like to use it, is that these lenses, these cinema lenses, normally you would think I need a matte box, right?
Yes.
Well, matte boxes can prevent certain things from occurring, most notably using any sort of LiDAR system is really hard on a matte box. So a lot of people, when they think cinema, they think matte box, and that's a good thing to think. But you're not always using a cinema camera in a way that a matte box can be used. For example, if you rig a LiDAR to a system like this, that matte box is gonna cover where the LiDAR sensor is, in which case you're gonna not wanna use a matte box, but that creates a problem because you need to be able to apply ND filters and whatnot. That, I think, is what makes these lenses the coolest lenses that I have found, because look at them. See these? These cinema lenses, all are 82 millimeter threads. Normally you get a cinema lens, right? And you have to put a matte box on in order to put an ND filter down like this. Normally, this is like the small rig one. So normally you would have to take this, put it over the top. Amazing. And then you would have to slide in the actual filter, like so, which is awesome if you're doing a film and you have lots of time. But if you notice this is not variable.
Correct.
This is what it is. And the way we shoot, we require a lot of variable NDs. So as cool as I think this is, when you're on a corporate video shoot, you gotta have variable ND. That is what makes these lenses beautiful, because they have 82 millimeter threads, where normally there wouldn't be threads. Chris?
Hello?
On lots of cinema lenses, are there threads?
No.
Right. These ones, they were thinking ahead and they put threads on them so that you can take one of these classic ND filters. This one is 82 millimeters, and you can just screw it on the front. And oh my God, variable ND on a cinema lens. This is huge. If you watch the video for anything, let it be this. These are cinema lenses that you can put variable NDs on, which means that you are in a much different scenario with a camera like this one that does not have internal NDs. It just really adds a layer of utility that makes these lenses so much easier to use than a lot of other cinema glass. And the picture's pretty great too. So if you want a great picture with utility and you don't want to spend a lot of money, I recommend the Spectrum series from 7Artisans. Great for the L mount. Hopefully you left learning something. I would really strongly suggest picking up these lenses. They're great for anybody's budget, and they have a superpower that a lot of cinema lenses do not have, which is that 82 millimeter thread. This isn't supposed to work, and it does work, and it makes it much more convenient to shoot with. So that's it for Tracksuit Terry's Tech Talks. I hope you had a good time and you learned something. We'll see you on the next one. 7Artisans. Yay! You getting this?